So certainly as I went into planning for this year, one of the things that I am thinking about is how do we upskill a team that is an existing team? You're a non-AI native organization. Wrike has been around for many, many years. And so I had to think about how do I make sure I'm upskilling and enabling the team so that they're able to do more themselves. Uh, and so, I created a dedicated role on my team reporting to me that is focused on AI and automation specific to marketing. We've got an amazing team. And so we're not building the team from scratch. We're looking at how do we move from sort of traditional marketing to AI enabled marketing without requiring that everybody becomes a data scientist overnight. So I had someone in the organization who was naturally drawn to thinking about how they could use AI within their current marketing role. And as I was looking at what do we need for the whole organization, I thought having that person move into this role would help scale their expertise and also just enable the whole team. And so, this is somebody who is a marketer, but they're deeply technical as well. I think, if I had hired sort of a standard engineer to build out marketing automations, it would have taken forever to get them up to speed.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Kerner with Tech Marketing Rewired. This episode, I was fortunate enough to speak to Christine Royston, who is the CMO of Wrike. It was a really fascinating conversation. I had reached out to Christine a couple months ago or so after seeing one of her posts about her really beginning to try to operationalize AI into her organization. I think it's a really interesting dynamic that she works for one of the top, at least project management automation companies in the world. And they've implemented a lot of AI inside of their technology. So it was a really great conversation. I was asking Christine just how she is organizing this year. She's really doing some amazingly innovative things. Hired a AI efficiency expert on her team. I think she promoted someone into that role who was really responsible for now activating a lot of the automations that they're doing and is really a guide for their internal staff to use. She has a 10% OKR across all of her team to use to 10% efficiency goal across all of her team inside of their OKRs. And she's moved to a pod structure for a lot of her teams to work within. So instead of organizing by departments, they're organizing by pods. So we talk a lot about that. But really the idea was to, how do you get a large marketing organization to go from how it used to be done to how it needs to be done now. So it's really great conversation. So I'm really looking forward to you, and I'm really thankful for you hearing it. And I'm really thankful for Christine to be on. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that this podcast is made possible by my company, Mighty and True. We are a growth marketing agency that helps CMOs identify gaps in their strategy and then help put teams in place as well as workflows and automation that help them become more efficient and also drive growth faster. And we do a 45-minute blueprint session with companies to help them identify where their gaps are and how at least we've seen companies solve for these gaps with better processes, systems, and automation. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You can email me at kevin@mightyandtrue.com, or you can simply contact us at www.mightyandtrue.com. Okay, this one's going to be a good one. If you're a CMO that's looking to restructure or thinking through your organization, this is a definite must listen. So let's get to it. This is Tech Marketing Rewired. Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here. I think we go way back, but we hadn't talked in quite a bit of time.
It has been a while, so I was definitely happy to be reconnected.
Yeah. I think it might go back to the Salesforce days.
Think so. Yes.
Yeah,
At least that long.
Yeah, quite a while ago. Well, I've had all these friends that I've met through the years that have gone up through organizations, and now they're CMOs and doing all this amazing stuff. I'm kind of stuck where I've always been, unfortunately. My friends have gone pretty far, so it's kind of fun to see. But I always enjoyed working with you, and I was really pleased to do the podcast here with you today. I'm going to just kick things off. There's a lot to talk about here. One of the reasons I reached out to you when I did was around the topic of toward 2026 and the fact that we're now, we've been using AI for a few years here now, and it seems like most of the CMOs that I know and have talked to are now in the operational, like they're operationalizing things. And so I think I'll start by just saying, like, what was the specific, like, as you entered 2026 or maybe 2025 into 2026, what was the specific light bulb moment that was like, okay, we've tried this stuff. Now we need to sort of put real operational strength behind it?
Sure. I would say, it's definitely that drive for continued growth. I feel like in 2025, we still had high growth targets to hit, and we were using AI in what I'll call experimentation mode.
Yeah.
And as we go into this year and looking at our own growth targets, we have to move to operational. I think also just, the trends in the market, everybody is looking at how do they become more efficient with AI. And if you're not doing that, you're not keeping up. And so I want to make sure that, we are keeping our own team's skills up to date, my own skills up to date in terms of what it means to be a modern marketer.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's interesting. It's efficiency because there is a lot of pressure now from growing faster, trying to grow faster, but also the budgets are, not exactly overflowing right now. How
Right.
do you keep there's so much hype around this stuff. If you go on LinkedIn, it's almost like it's better to avoid LinkedIn in a lot of ways, but how do you filter what people are really doing and what they're not doing? Like how do you keep control of the hype cycle out there?
Sure. So, I definitely look to my own network to figure out how are people actually using AI, what results are they seeing. There's certainly a lot of great blog posts out there, great LinkedIn posts, but I kind of look to my trusted network to say, okay, I'm hearing that people are able to do this. What have you been able to do? What tools are you using? What change management does it require in your team as well? Because I think anytime new technology pops up or you have to use technology in a different way, the other side of the coin is how does it change the way you work, the way your teams work, the skills that they need.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into that a bit. So you mentioned efficiency as one of being the primary driver. You mentioned to me on the pre-call something about an AI efficiency lead or trying to put centering some roles there that around driving efficiency. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure, sure. So certainly as I went into planning for this year, one of the things that I am thinking about is how do we upskill a team that is an existing team. We are a non-AI native organization. Reich has been around for many, many years. And so I had to think about how do I make sure I'm upskilling and enabling the team so that they're able to do more themselves. And so, I created a dedicated role on my team reporting to me that is focused on AI and automation specific to marketing. We've got an amazing team. And so we're not building the team from scratch. We're looking at how do we move from sort of traditional marketing to AI enabled marketing without requiring that everybody becomes a data scientist overnight. So I had someone in the organization who was naturally drawn to thinking about how they could use AI within their current marketing role. And as I was looking at what do we need for the whole organization, I thought having that person move into this role would help scale their expertise and also just enable the whole team. And so, this is somebody who is a marketer, but they're deeply technical as well. I think, if I had hired sort of a standard engineer to build out marketing automations, it would have taken forever to get them up to speed. We would have had to explain a lot. So this sort of hybrid type of role means that we were able to get him and the team up to speed much quickly and in execution mode already.
That's cool. If you had to look at the type of things that they're doing on a day-to-day basis in their role, like what type of stuff are they doing?
Sure. So, I'd say they wear a couple of different hats. One is an internal consultant. So the first thing that I had this person do when they moved into this role was sit down with each of my leaders and really dive into their workflows, dive into the pain points, dive into where are the opportunities that we could use AI to optimize. So they are sort of looking at all the opportunities and partnering with the leadership team on where to focus. The second kind of key thing they're focused on is building. So, this person is technical and so they can actually build solutions and look at how are we using the tools that we have, how are we using the AI that's built into Wrike as a product, which runs our marketing operations. How do we think about connecting those things? And then Another key piece, which I think is something that's key for any team that's thinking about using AI, is looking at the data. So is the data in the right structure that we can actually use AI so that we've got consistency in results, we can access the data that we need. If we're building an agent, it's pulling from this structured single source of truth, not disparate data sources.
Oh man, you're speaking my language. That's so awesome. The tool part of it, like the tech part, I think is really smart. How did you find this person? Did they just happen to have some AI tech curiosity, or did they have a technical mindset or background beforehand?
I'd say both. So definitely technical background in terms of
Hmm,
their career, and they had moved into more of a technical marketing role in terms of using technology for performance marketing, really focused on the data and the analytics. And the thing that his manager and his marketing leader observed was that he was naturally drawn to this and just building out solutions for that one team. And so we looked at, is there an opportunity for us to broaden that role and make sure that we're able to do this across the whole team? So we were lucky enough to have somebody in our organization already. But I think that, if there are leaders out there who are looking to build this type of role and don't have that skill set in house, I think that there are people out there that you can kind of look at. Where's that balance of marketing knowledge and understanding of what you're trying to do as a marketer, but also the technical chops in order to be able to build and actually get hands on with the tools.
yeah, 100%. Like builders are very valuable right now. Someone that's maybe doesn't necessarily know all the coding language, but's kind of fearless,
Hmm.
smart enough maybe to run security checks inside the code that they're building, but it's a very valuable thing. I'm curious, are you getting in any of the tool? Are they teaching you like, hey, check this out. I'm the CMO. I can get in and actually wrestle with some of these tools.
So we have recently instituted a regular AI enablement session for the whole marketing team, and I join every single one of those myself. Our CEO also asked all of his executive team to get hands on and start to use the
Wow.
tools ourselves. So we want to make sure that we're, if we are setting expectations for our teams, we're actually in those tools ourselves, looking at how they can help us from an executive perspective
Yeah.
and so making sure we're sort of showing the team that we're getting into the details and getting hands on.
Yeah. Super cool. What do you have most fun like playing around with? Like what's been surprising to you? Like, oh, that worked.
I think some of the tools like I use Notebook LM to take all these
Hmm.
disparate data sources and pieces of information to try to figure out how do I consolidate all of these points of view that are out there
Yeah.
as you do too. There's so many articles, podcasts, LinkedIn posts that have a certain point of view on something. And you want to sort of figure out, okay, how do I take this and consolidate it and figure out what my point of view is? And so
Hmm.
being able to use a tool to be able to take all of that and kind of give me, all right, what are the differences? What are the commonalities? How do I think about where I want to move the team next? I think that has been super interesting. I mean, certainly, being able to also analyze a ton of different data points internally.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at what are the sales teams talking about, what am I seeing in the data? How are certain channels performing? How do you take all these data points and figure out how that changes your strategy or your focus?
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. Yeah. It's an amazing time to be have a thought partner like we have now. And I think does Wrike has AI built into the platform, but is there a MCP access as well in some way? Yeah, so you can literally talk to Wrike, right?
Yes, yeah. So we're it's something that we launched and mid end of last year to think about how do we make sure that people can access Reich
Yeah,
and make sure we know people are using our tool as a source of truth for their workflows, but you need to always connect to other tools.
yeah,
So moving beyond sort of traditional integrations to think about how do you open up access.
yeah. Really cool. When you think about efficiency, because that word can be, tossed around, it made some of the maybe take the team a little nervous. How is he defining and measuring efficiency? Like what are the factors that you're looking at to say, okay, this is working, this isn't working?
Mhm, mhm. So ultimately, we look at time saved.
Yeah.
And that time saved can help people focus on different types of work, more strategic work, more creative work. It can help us execute faster. It can help us execute more. And so last year, I set an OKR for the entire marketing team to improve efficiency by 10% for each of their workflows. And I left it open because I wanted them to identify what are those workflows that have the biggest opportunity for efficiency with AI. And I'd say while specific metrics change, whether you're in product marketing or you're in demand gen or you're in content creation, ultimately it turns into time that you can use in other ways. And ideally, we want people to automate the repetitive tasks so they can be more creative and focus on the work that they love.
Yeah, I don't know if you experienced this with your team, but it's like you really don't get in your head the efficiency gain through AI until you actually experience it. But then when you create an automation and it takes something away from you and you've got, let's say, an hour or a couple hours back, it's like clicks. And that for our team, it's as a leader, that's one of the toughest things is making sure that we're giving everyone the opportunity to see the efficiency gain. I wonder if you're experiencing the same thing in your team. I guess you have this efficiency lead who can help educate and actually build and drive some of the efficiencies. But you seeing the same thing in your team?
Yes, yes, because we don't, even though we have this partner for each of the teams to work with, we don't remove the responsibility of leveraging AI from the teams. So we want the teams to be constantly looking at how do I leverage AI? How do I move from experimentation to operation? How do I save the time so that I can spend it in other ways? And so we ask the teams themselves to be on the hook for measuring, what that efficiency is and looking at, what are the hours you get back? What can you apply those hours to? We have the teams share updates in our marketing all hands. We want them, as
Hmm.
soon as the light bulb goes off, we want them to share an update in Slack about what they've tried and what tools they're using. So we're constantly trying to drive that broader internal communication among the teams so they can also learn from themselves and think about how they could apply something that, this team has done to the work that they're doing.
Yeah. And I suppose the activator for you is they can literally go to the efficiency lead and say, "Hey, I have an idea to build something. Can you help me build it?" And they go to this person. They don't have to have the fear of actually getting in the tools. They can do it themselves, but they have this additional role that helps them get there.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's a way to act because the toughest part is getting a bigger team activated and getting them on the boat is just having
Mhm.
them see what can actually happen. And sometimes technically that becomes a challenge for people.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the organization. You got this efficiency lead. You're doing OKRs around this stuff. Have you done anything else to structure around AI usage? I think you mentioned something about pods on our initial
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
But is there other ways that you're thinking about organizing the team to optimize for efficiency and speed to outcome?
Yes. That sort of changing the way we work and creating these pods to drive more agility is one of the big bets for this year. So we have not restructured the reporting lines. We haven't renamed functions. We still have typical functional teams. But what we're doing is moving away from these silos toward building these cross-functional pods that have specific objectives. So we want to make sure that we're driving more collaboration. We're looking at how does a combined team drive more impact than passing it down this conveyor belt of production. And so, we're looking at what are some big objectives we're trying to drive as an organization. Do we want to drive brand awareness? So, creating a pod around that. Do we have a specific audience or industry that we want to drive more pipeline and more bookings from this year? Creating pods around that. And what I've done is I've asked my leadership team to identify, a possible lead for each of those pods, but then a member from their teams to participate in every pod. So really looking for teams to make sure that they are comprehensive in terms of, we've got somebody from the design team, someone from the demand gen team, someone from product marketing who's part of this pod. They're part of weekly meetings, they're part of planning, they're part of setting the targets. And, really a lot of this was around how do we stay agile? How do we become more nimble as an organization? So We don't want the teams to wait for strategy to get created by one team and then hand it off to another and then another and then another. And those pods really allow us to act in real time.
Yeah, super smart. Well, we're organized similarly by pods, and it just the silos of traditional like strategy, creative, measurement, all those things. They're seems like you put something. If you put a coin in that thing, you're just going to get each like step of the way. You're going to get something. But when the pod has the responsibility for the outcome, it just activates the whole thing. Does that change the planning process cycle or process? Do
It
they? Yeah. How does that work?
it does, and I'll say we're still learning there. So one of the things that we recognized was by moving to this model, the way that we're thinking about creating workflows, the way that we're thinking about putting projects in Wrike will change. And so we're asking those
Hmm.
pod leads to partner closely with our AI lead, partner closely with our operations team as well to say, all right, how does this change the way we think about adding projects into Wrike? How does it change the way we get sign off for certain ideas? We still ladder all of our work up to business outcomes, OKRs, but the team that's building those plans is now a cross functional team. Instead of teams saying, well, this is the demand gen project, this is the product marketing project. Now, this is the project about launching this big new feature, or this is the project that is about driving more awareness with this audience in Q2. And so, one of the other sort of operational changes that we made was moving to a rolling planning process. So we had been operating on sort of this quarterly cadence of plan for the next quarter, plan for the next quarter. But along the lines of remaining agile and nimble, we're just moving it to ongoing 3-month planning cycles. So we end January, we start to plan for the next 3 months. It doesn't mean if you've got something that's needs to start being executed or planned for in 6 months that you don't get it on the calendar. But what
Yeah.
we want to do is make sure we're not drawing these artificial lines of a fiscal quarter to kind of hamper the way we are thinking about planning for the future.
Yeah, that's really smart. One of the toughest parts of being a marketing leader is having the strategy in your head and the gap between what's in your head and actually getting it done. And the pods seem like a catalyst to be able to say, okay, this quarter we're working on these things. Could a pod be on a short-term initiative and eventually they're moved to another initiative?
Yes. Yep. So we
Wow.
set the year with, I think we've got five sort of permanent pods that
Yeah.
we've identified. We've also flagged to the team that there are going to be these short-term or temporary pods that need to
Yeah.
happen for, say, our big annual event. We've got to bring a group of people together when we start planning for that to execute it, to measure the results. If there are other things that pop up in the year and we say, wow, that's something that wasn't on our annual plan, but we've got to rally around it. How do we create a team or maybe borrow people from another pod to say, this is high priority. We've got to have these resources here. And so I think that also adds to the agility.
Yeah, that's really smart. So you have this command center view of like, here's the pods I have running. They all ladder up to your, let's say, primary initiatives. But if an initiative pops up that you need to get covered, you could spin up a pod and have that pod working on it with their own objectives. That's really, I haven't heard of anyone else. I haven't heard that in a client side environment before. It's really smart.
Yeah, I like it because I expect it's going to drive results. But I also like it because one of the observations I have when teams operate in silos is that people don't always get a chance to see how their work is connected to driving the final outcome or how it's connected to company or team objectives. They kind of do their piece of the project and then it moves on to the next piece. So I like it because people are able to see the impact of their work. And then I think another benefit is great ideas come from everywhere. And I want to make sure I'm unlocking, the creativity of my whole team to come up with new ideas, propose them in these pods, even if it's something that's, not part of what their job title says that they do, because now they're kind of thinking more about, well, what can the whole team do in order to drive this objective?
Yeah. Yeah. There's more innovation around a specific objective. It's really,
Mhm.
it's really cool. And like if I'm the copywriter on a project and I'm in the old way, you're just going to write your copy and then you're going to be out and you're going to, do it. Now you're in a pod and you can get to the end of the road with the whole thing. So that's really cool. And I guess I could be in more pods than one pod, right? I could work cross functionally.
Yes. Yeah. Because certainly we've got teams that are small or a single person running a function and they just have to make sure they're balancing their time. And I'm asking the leads to help with that because I don't want that one person to have to join 5 meetings a week. But when they need, a certain outcome that this person is responsible for driving or a certain piece of content type, pull that person in, give them a heads up, hey, next 2 weeks, we're looking at this. We want your input on it. We're going to add you to next week's agenda. And so you can come in and kind of consult with the pod.
Yeah. So you're asking a lot of people to be in a pod, but also to have this sort of AI transition, let's say, this AI mindset. Like, is it changing? Are you doing things to upskill the people that you have for these things? Sounds like you are with the efficiency lead, but are you also thinking that the profile of a successful marketer in your organization just sort of fits a certain type of person now?
I don't know that the kind of profile has changed. Maybe it flexes in different ways. I have always looked for people who are curious. And I think in the age of AI and the speed that we are seeing change, I really need people who are curious and want
Yeah.
to learn and want to be able to kind of self upskill. Certainly, I want to make sure I'm providing the forums, making sure they understand learning is expected, but the type of person who's going to be able to be successful in the world of marketing that we are moving into, I think you have to be curious. You've got to be flexible. You have to be a good collaborator because you're probably working with even more teams than you have in the past. So I think it probably makes some of those core things that I have always hired for even more important.
Yeah. It's really, really interesting. I do think that skill set being more of a T-shaped or maybe
Mhm.
pie-shaped individual is becoming more important. Okay, so you've been at this now for all of a month and a half in 2026. Are there any use cases or surprises that you've run up against so far as you're starting to implement this?
I think the one surprise has probably been that I think some teams naturally saw results with AI last year early on. And so they're way further down their journey in terms of how to use AI and the opportunity there. And other teams, maybe just haven't had as much experimentation. And so what I need to
Hmm.
think about is it's not the entire team moving from experimentation to scale. There are some
Yes.
teams who are already on the scale piece, and there are some teams that are maybe, you know, toward the end of that experimentation. And so I have to figure out, how do I recognize where people are in their journey and make sure that I'm helping them to accelerate as quickly as possible. I think one of the other things that we have found as a core requirement is before implementing AI at scale, you have to look at your processes first. So, do you have the processes documented? Are you revisiting those processes? Because in some cases, those processes could have been built 2 predecessors ago, and now's the time for you to relook at it. And
And
then,
without AI too, without any
exactly,
thought for
exactly.
systems or AI.
Exactly. And then apply AI on top of it. So we are looking at all of our processes. We're looking at how we use Wrike to move those workflows along. And then how is AI going to change those processes? Do we need to look at, can we tighten up the number of people that are reviewing something? And now I'm definitely a proponent of human in the loop. I think humans
Yeah, for
still have
sure.
to be involved, but maybe it allows us to shorten that review cycle. Maybe it allows us to skip a step that we had to manually do in the past because now AI can push it even further before it gets to a person for a review. And so it is something that we're looking at. It's not only rolling out AI, but it's thinking about how you work, how can you optimize how you work, and also when you're applying AI, making sure you've got really clear definitions around, okay, who owns the input for this model? Who owns creating the messaging for this ICP? Who owns the templates of what does a good LinkedIn post look like? Really making sure that you're creating that clarity around ownership when you're using AI. So you don't have three different people using a new AI enabled workflow in different ways.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, the other thing that gets me thinking is you're kind of in a little bit of a superpower position being at a project management sort of workflow tool. It's like you have the keys to the kingdom, and I'm going to be amazed to watch that category of tools advance over the next probably I don't know how long, 6 months to a year or a couple of years. It's going to be hard to imagine how much the use of AI can actually influence workload, task assignment, communications
Mhm.
across different tasks and subtasks. It's just like there's a lot that's been done in those tools, but there's still so much to do. Is there innovation that's happening in your team because you're at one of these innovative like software platforms? Are you using the tool to do that in
Yeah.
unique ways?
Well, so for us, everything is in Wrike. It starts and ends in Wrike. We like to say if it's not in Wrike, it doesn't exist. And so we certainly, I think, benefit from the fact that we are using our own tool every day and looking at how can we use our own AI innovation? How do we use AI in general in terms of how we think about workflow? And like you said, it is a fascinating place to be right now because
Mhm.
so much of the way that AI impacts work is how work gets done and how workflows are built or optimized or changed. And so I feel like we're in this great spot where we're looking at the humans and the technology coming together with the data and the governance that you need, especially if you're thinking about supporting complex use cases, regulated industries, any place where you've got to make sure that you're
Yeah.
thinking about scale plus governance and making sure AI is used appropriately.
If I was able to walk the halls there and go in like the back room, like the special like experimental room that's somewhere, then with all the engineers and scientists, what are they working on? Like what is the next thing that you could actually tell me? Is there some advancement that's coming that is gonna just blow everyone's brains?
So I mean, I'll talk about something that just launched recently, was is just around our agents in
Yeah,
Wrike and thinking about how are you using those agents in places where humans might have had to push something along or
yeah, so big.
analyze are all of the inputs in this brief. And I think it's something that we previewed at our Collaborate event at the end of last year. It went GA just recently. And it is something that I'm super excited to see, our general customers use. The customers that have been deep into it already have some pretty amazing use cases. And certainly our teams are looking at it. And as a marketer, I look at all the things that it can do from intake to flagging risk. And I just think it is definitely going to help at all levels.
Yeah, I'm rooting on your engineering team. I'm like, "Yeah, bring it. As much automation as possible. Because the whole thing about, like, moving a task from here to here or seeing if something's done and not done and
Mhm.
reminders, a lot of that's done through dependencies right now, but it just seems like there's I know it's gonna happen, it just can't happen fast enough for someone that
Mhm.
uses we use project management a bunch, but I'm excited for to see what's coming, that's for sure. Has there been any just final question, has there been any, big use cases of AI on your team that you've seen like this we did this and it really improved speed to outcome or efficiency in some way? Like what's been the biggest success that you've had? And it may be too early.
I mean, I think if I look at some specific places where we have reclaimed hundreds of hours, there's some functional specific examples. And of course, my goal for this year is to look at, okay, how do we actually estimate the hours across the whole team? How could we take this connected workflow, something that a pod is working on, and say we save this many hours, combination of AI plus just operational efficiency to deliver a project from beginning to end. But if I look at some of the specific teams, so on our SEO and web team, we looked at using AI and automated redirect mapping. So this is something that basically the team was able to see a 90% efficiency gain
Yeah. Takes forever to
Yes. Yeah.
map
And
redirects.
it's not fun.
No, it's just a pain. It's like, why am I doing this?
Yes,
That's a
exactly.
good one.
Also, on a totally different side of the marketing spectrum, on our analyst relations team, we look at answering the requests for information that come in. It's important to think about how are you getting the right information to the analysts. And the team was able to save 25% of their time using our own internal AI portal to draft responses that experts internally can review rather than just starting the writing from scratch.
That's awesome.
So just being able to leverage all the data that we have out there in a single place in our AI portal and create these responses. So that team has saved a ton of time. Again, being able to use that time for conversations with the analysts or thinking about different types of areas that we want to move into in terms of conversations.
Yeah, that's great. Early results like that are fantastic. And I guess your sounds like your CEO is pretty bought in and the leadership team, so they're probably interested to see, hey, marketing is saving X percent, 10% over the course of the year, whatever.
Yes.
If you come up with that metric, it'd be really interesting for you to build it in public and show people the actual attributes that because a lot of people are, I think, wrestling with what is efficiency. What are the inputs to
Hmm.
get to an efficiency number? And there's, of course, every company's different, but
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
everyone's
and
testing.
certainly as people are using our own tool, we're working to figure out, how can we help our customers understand the impact of using AI in their workflows. So we're
Yeah.
looking at how we can think about that calculation to be able to show people that impact.
Yeah, really amazing. I'm sure a lot of CMOs are going to be listening to this, getting a lot from it in terms of the plan for 2026. If you had or sitting down over a drink with a fellow CMO and they wanted to get started, where would you point them to? Like, do these two things first.
I think the making sure that you are vocal, internally about the expectation with your team that this is a tool that if we are not using it, we're behind. And so I expect you to be leveraging AI and thinking about how you can use AI. And last year we put some practices into place to make sure it's not just me saying it in an all hands or me having a one-on-one with my leadership team and saying this, but we spotlight it in our marketing all hands. We certainly put it out via blog posts and external content. We also created a team award around people who are innovating with AI. So trying to make sure it's even more visible. So I think setting that expectation that it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And
Yeah.
one of the things I tell my teams is if you're working in tech, you've seen these transitions throughout your career. This is the fastest, most exciting technology transition I have ever seen.
Yep.
And so I think to be a marketer in a company that is all in on this, we're building it into product. This is great from a career perspective. You've got an opportunity to look at how do you build your skill set? How do you drive change in this time of technology transition? Because there will be another one in the next couple of years. It doesn't stop if you're working in tech. So I think that's one is just making sure you're vocal and you're setting those expectations. And then I do think, if you can identify a resource and maybe it's not a full-time resource, but it's someone on your team, even part-time, who can be kind of that go-to to help upskilled team members, help to build out the technology. I mean, I think you'll be able to show the ROI on that type of role very quickly to build the case for your CFO or your CEO to think about funding that type of resource.
Yeah, great advice. I mean, you just need some people just won't get their hands on the tools till they see it work. Putting that person in place is really smart and have them actually be a builder because it's scary sometimes if you're not technical. Like I don't know, but and some of the tools are a little advanced, and so yeah, having that as a catalyst is great. It's kind of funny you said the like this is the biggest change of our time being in tech for so long. It's not great being as old as I am, but I at least have the context of what it used to be like
Mhm.
back in the day. So I know how big this change is, and it's a really big one. She did some people maybe that are younger might be, huh, these things must come along all the time. But it's not really that way. Kind of crazy.
Right.
Okay, so I have one more thing that I wanted to do with you. It's called our AI roulette question. And so I have loaded your profile and some of the questions we're going to talk about into are actually Gemini. We changed from Perplexity. So it's basically going to give you a question. It's going to be the best question that I asked today because the AI wrote it. So let me press send and I'll tell you what it is here.
Right.
Okay. Christine, if you had to conduct a performance review for your collective fleet of AI agents today, what is the one soft skill or personality trait you wish you could program into them to make them a better teammate for your human staff?
That's a great question.
I told you. You know me. That's going to be the best question.
So I would say, given where we are with our AI journey, I think the soft skill that I would ask our agents to use, I think it would be collaboration, because I think we are still building, and I want to make sure that the AI agents are working with the humans to build. Yes, they are going to be able to come up with a lot of new ideas, but I want the humans involved to say, okay, but at what point do I come in to review something? Or you've proposed something that may technically look like a great idea, but the way our organization is structured today won't quite work yet. Or, the way that we think about getting approvals from customers are on something, it won't quite work yet. So I think collaboration would be the key skill.
It's a really good one. I was just I build some stuff in Claude Code and I always try to ask the agent in Claude Code how I'm doing. And every time it codes something at the end of it, I ask it for what's happening? Do you agree with the plan? Should we be doing something different? I run security check on the code, all the things, because if you can get the agent to actually give you advice, no, or if the agent knows it can give you advice
Hmm.
and it doesn't need to just agree with you,
Right.
it gives some really good stuff. It rebuilds stuff entirely. So I think that's really good. I mean, if you're building GPTs or whatever, you can easily build that in.
Hmm.
Super smart. Love it. Well, Christine, this has been great. I hope to catch up with you again sooner than I have in the last couple of years or so, but it's been great talking to you. I know people want to follow you in the Wrike journey. How should people get a hold of you if they want to get more details on what you guys are doing?
Sure. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or they can follow Reich on LinkedIn as well. We try to put out some interesting content and share our own journey as we continue to evolve here.
Well, thanks so much, Christine. Great seeing you.
You too. Thanks so much.